Well, thank you all very much for having me. My name is Melody Conkin, and I am with First Tennessee Area Agency on Aging. And Alex there, who is passing around the brochures, Alex McCullough. He's a student in the College of Public Health here at ETSU, and he's interning with us this semester. And everybody got a brochure. We're going to kind of talk a little bit about what the area agency does, because I understand y'all just kind of need to know some of the resources in the community. So my position at the area agency is I am the SHIP coordinator and also INA specialist, and we'll talk a little bit about what those programs do. So we're going to kind of cover the basics of all the things that the area agency does, and also try and talk a little bit about some of the requirements for some of the programs for you. All right, so the First Tennessee Area Agency on Aging is part of a nationwide system of agencies. And they were created as part of the 1973 amendments to the Older Americans Act of 1965. And the Older Americans Act was recently renewed, basically, a couple of years ago. So there are area agencies all over the country. So if you don't end up here in East Tennessee, if you end up in California, there's going to be an area agency that serves the area that you end up in. And so our role is basically what it says: to identify community and social service needs and ensure that they're available to people 60 years and older and to adults with disabilities in the communities where they live. So we're going to talk about what that actually means, because that's all just kind of nice language, but what do we actually do? So the communities that we serve at the First Tennessee Area Agency are the 8 counties of Northeast Tennessee: Hancock, Hawkins, Greene, Unicoi, Washington, Sullivan, Carter, and Johnson County. So these are the services that are available directly through the AAAD. We're going to talk a little bit about each of those services. So service coordination and case management, intake and information and assistance, that's one of the things that I do. State options for community living, National Family Caregiver Support Program, choices in long-term care, SMP and SHIP, which I also do those programs, the Public Guardianship Program, and the ADRC, Aging and Disability Resource Connection. So SHIP is my primary job as the SHIP coordinator. So what we do with SHIP is basically we do Medicare counseling. SHIP is a nationwide program that's federally funded through a grant. So there are SHIPs in every state. And so SHIP stands for State Health Insurance Assistance Program. And what we do with that is basically we do education, we do presentations about Medicare to Medicare beneficiaries and their families. We also do individual counseling on Medicare with individuals, so we sit down with an individual one-on-one or help them over the phone, explain what their Medicare options are, explain how Medicare works and all of their benefits work, help them to compare plan options, and also help them see if they qualify for any assistance programs to help pay for their Medicare and apply for those programs. So SHIP is my primary job. That's the primary program that Alex is volunteering with as well. So all the programs with the area agency, you have to go through training. SHIP, you have to go through Medicare training. That is, Alex has just been through quite a number of hours of training about Medicare specifically and Medicare benefits. SMP stands for Senior Medicare Patrol, and again, that SMP is a nationwide program that really works hand in hand with SHIP, because what SMP does is teach consumers how to identify and report possible fraud, waste, and abuse in Medicare, and how to try and prevent that from happening to them. And if they see something strange on their Medicare summary notice or their Medicare explanation of benefits, you know, how to identify if that's really, maybe that's just an error by the doctor's office, or if that's possibly fraud, and how to report those types of things. Okay. So information and assistance, that's the other program that I work specifically with. So information and assistance services are designed to inform, guide, direct, and link adults age 60 and older with disabilities to needed and available resources. So in INA, what we do is people in our community, and sometimes from out of state that have family members in our community, or sometimes they just get the wrong number and call us anyway, call us to see what resources are available in the community. That includes everything from transportation, what transportation resources are available, you know, how can I get my mother some help in her home, where's the local health department, How can I get dental care? All of those things. So information and assistance, we have to know what the local resources are that are available to be able to refer people to if it's not a service that we offer. In information and assistance, we also screen people to see if they will qualify for other services through the Area Agency on Aging. So the services that we're going to talk about in a minute or two, the Options Program and the Choices Program, people who are applying for those programs initially come through the Information and Assistance Department. We talk to them about what services are available, and then we do a screening over the phone to see if they'll be able to actually qualify or not. Screening goes over personal information because all of our programs are state and federally funded. So we have to have personal information. We also go through detailed questions on a person's health diagnoses and health problems, and specific questions as well on the person's ADLs, or activities of daily living, and their IADLs, independent activities of daily living. So we'll ask specific questions on things such as, can you take a bath by yourself? Okay, well, can you take a bath by yourself? Do you use a shower chair to assist you? Do you manage your own money, or does somebody help you do that? Can you manage your own medications? Does somebody help you put them in a pill box for you? And all of those factors then help us determine what program a person might be able to qualify for based on the eligibility requirements of those programs. So service coordination and case management. So once someone comes through INA and we determine that they qualify for a program and refer them to the appropriate program that they qualified for, they'll be assigned a service coordinator, or now they're kind of switching, calling them options counselors rather than service coordinators. That's pretty recent. So the service coordinators, once a person is assigned to their program, will make home visits to assess the individual's needs and develop a plan of care that will enable a person to remain at home. They'll authorize the services and follow up to ensure that the services have been received, and also conduct reassessments. Most of our service coordinators do have degrees in social work. So really all of them do, I think. So that's one of the things that you could look at doing in the future. So we don't provide the services in the home directly. The primary purpose of all of our services is to help someone remain independent in their homes for as long as possible, because most people want to remain in their homes and in the community. So those programs help provide that, and the service coordinator is helping coordinate the programs, seeing what they qualify for, making sure they're getting the services that they need once they've been approved for services. Okay. So what are some of the programs that actually we do to provide those services in the home? TennCare Choices in long-term care. Choices is the state of Tennessee's long-term care Medicaid program. So services can include care in a nursing home, as well as a person's own home. Choices can also help pay for care in an assisted living. Basically, the goal of Choices is to keep a person from going into a nursing home, because most people want to stay in their own homes and not have to go into a nursing home. And that has been a big shift really nationwide in long-term care, to allow people to remain in their own homes rather than having to go into a nursing home with Medicaid. There's really two reasons for that. First of all, the person normally prefers it, and they're able to remain independent longer in their home. And also, care in the home costs less than a nursing home. So it saves the state money for a person to be able to remain in their home or in an assisted living. It's much less cost to remain in a person's home, because in a person's home under Choices, they will get a lot of services, but they don't get round-the-clock care in the home. So we look at if a person is going to meet the eligibility requirements for Choices, and if they're going to be safe in their home if someone's not there 24/7. Do they have family members who are going to assist them, and all of those things. Choices is the program we have that is the most difficult to qualify for, as you can imagine, because you do have to meet the level of care required for a nursing home, that you can't stay in your own home to receive services. So for someone to qualify for Choices, they have to basically need hands-on help with the majority of their ADLs. So someone has to be physically helping them with bathing, with dressing, with toileting, with eating, with managing their medication. So medication management in that situation wouldn't just be the family member puts my pills in a pill box and then I get them out of the pill box and take them. To qualify for Choices, they have to need additional help with those. They maybe the family member has to put the pills in the person's hand or put them in applesauce for them or something like that, and then the person's able to take them. So the level of care required to qualify for Choices is much higher than it is for other programs. Choices, because it's a Medicaid program, also has financial requirements. So a person has to qualify financially for Medicaid. The Medicaid income limits for that program are higher than we think of for a lot of the different Medicaid categories. The limit's closer to $2,200 per month for an individual, and the savings limit's $2,000. And then there are also issues with real estate and things like that. So what we do with Choices is basically we don't make the decision on if the person is eligible for Choices, but we help them with the application process. So someone will call into Information and Assistance and say, my doctor told me that my mom might qualify for Choices, and then I need to call you and see if we qualify. So we'll do an initial screening over the phone, see if it looks like they might meet the level of care required for Choices, go over those questions with them. If it looks like they do, we'll refer that to our Choices department, and then one of our intake coordinators will actually go out to meet with the person face-to-face. Our intake coordinators are mostly social workers. We do have one nurse who's one of our intake coordinators. They go out to the person's home, meet with them face-to-face. Oftentimes the family is there as well. And they will do a pre-admission evaluation or a PAE. So that's the medical portion of the Choices application. They'll actually ask them to demonstrate how they do the things that they told us on the phone. So basically they're verifying, okay, you said that you need help getting out of this chair. Can you show me how you get out of the chair? You know, does your family member come over and help you get up? And they'll actually, you know, see how they actually are. Because a lot of times, sometimes people tell us things on the phone that maybe they really need more help than they're admitting to on the phone. They don't want to admit that they need as much help as they do. Sometimes on the phone they say that they need more help than they actually need. So that's the purpose of the home visit, to actually see and evaluate what they're needing. They'll also help them, the intake coordinators will also help them with the financial portion of the Choices application and help them get medical records, because with Choices everything has to be backed up with medical records from the doctor. So basically the intake coordinator, once they get that case, will help them all the way through the process. It's not a quick process to get approved for Choices. It takes several weeks. So the person who's assigned that case will stay with the person all the way through approval or denial from TennCare, one or the other. Okay? Do you have any questions on Choices so far? Okay. All right. So state options for community living. So Choices is a Medicaid program. State options for community living is a state-funded non-Medicaid program. So options provide support services for people in their homes who don't have services available to them from other programs. So if a person qualifies for Choices or qualifies for a federally funded assistance program in their home, then they can't also get state options. They have to get one or the other, so that there's no duplication of benefits. So it's basically designed, like most of the programs, to help people remain independent in their home through a variety of supportive in-home services. And that can include home-delivered meals. A lot of people who call us are interested in getting home-delivered meals or Meals on Wheels. Personal care, so assistance with bathing or dressing, and also homemaker services, so light-duty housework, help with things like mopping or vacuuming, doing the laundry, things that are maybe difficult for the person to do. So state options offers, it's easier to qualify for state options. You don't have to need as much assistance in the home as you do under Choices. So more people can qualify for options than can qualify for Choices. But you also get less services in the home because you don't have quite as much need as a person with Choices. Someone with Choices can get much more assistance in the home. Choices can pay for a personal care attendant, someone to come in each day, stay with the person 4 or 5 hours a day, come in and help with bathing frequently, help with housework and all of those things. Choices offers a lot more services than Options does. So Options, home delivered meals would be, once a day at lunchtime. Personal care under Options is normally once to twice per week, so it's not every day. And then homemaker services normally would be like once a week, someone to come in and help. And that is light duty housework. They're not going in if someone's a hoarder and cleaning out the house. They're not washing windows. It's, the basic things, your basic housework. The ADRC, basically ADRC's purpose is to be a single point of entry. So if someone calls our service coordinator and wants to be screened for services rather than calling INA, the point of ADRC is that there's no wrong door. The service coordinator can do the screening for the person and see what they qualify for, so they don't have to call multiple numbers. They can just call one place, and if they called the wrong number, we can still help them. That's basically what the point of ADRC is. Okay. The district public guardianship for the elderly. So public guardianship for the elderly is basically to help people 60 years of age and older who are unable to manage their own affairs and have no one willing or able to act on their behalf. So if a person is no longer able to make their own decisions, either medically or financially, they're no longer able to handle their own affairs, and they don't have a family member or friend to help them with that, they don't have a power of attorney or something like that, then they can be assigned by the courts to our public guardian to assist them with those things. A lot of times people who are assigned to the public guardian program are victims of elder abuse. Their family member or friend who was supposed to help them has actually harmed them, either physically or by financially exploiting them, stealing their money, those types of things. And so then the court steps in, Adult Protective Services has been called in maybe, and then the person has been assigned to public guardian by the court. So there are a lot of people assigned to that program who are victims of elder abuse. But not all of them. Some of them, maybe their family lives far away and it's just too, they can't handle that. If they live in California and their family members in Tennessee, it's too complicated for them to try and handle everything, so that sometimes that happens. So basically the public guardian can be assigned either to manage the person's financial affairs or their medical affairs, or both. Our public guardian, I think they vary between 20 to 40 clients at a time, depending on what the caseload is. And we have one public guardian and an assistant public guardian, and basically she's on call 24/7. It's a very stressful job, as you can imagine, handling other people's medical needs and financial needs and trying to handle that many clients. They also go out and visit, or required to go out and visit the clients at least once per month. And they try and do it more often than that, make sure the person has what they need, that, they need extra things. If they want to have Coca-Cola with them, go out and do those things for them. They use volunteers with that program to assist with the visits. So if you're interested in doing that, you can contact the area agency. But the volunteers basically go out and visit with the clients once per month, make sure they've got what they need. Just kind of, basically, a lot of times it's a person's only visitor who's been assigned to public guardian. Is the volunteer who comes to see them. All right. So National Family Caregiver Support Program. So we have programs that actually provide services in the home. We've got choices, we've got state options, and then we've got the National Family Caregiver Support Program. So that program actually provides the support to the family caregiver. So the services are actually set up for the caregiver rather than for the person. So services provided can include availability of support services, individual counseling to help make decisions and solve problems, in-home respite care. So if you have a caregiver who's really stressed, the family caregiver can provide so many hours of respite per week. Give the person a break so they can get out, do the shopping, take a nap, take a bath. Just get out of the house for a while. And also supplemental services. Those would include, again, home delivered meals, personal care, homemaker services. The family caregiver program can provide some minor home modifications. We get a lot of calls from people who need a ramp or need bathroom modifications. The family caregiver program is the only one that can do that, and the money for that is very, very limited as well. So it's a difficult situation for those things if they need modifications to their bathroom, if they need a ramp, because not everybody qualifies for the family caregiver program, and the money for those modifications is very limited. Family caregiver can also pay for durable medical equipment, so things like a shower chair or a portable toilet, those things. And also personal emergency response systems, so Lifeline button, Family caregiver can help pay for that. The other programs cannot. So that's the only one that can pay for that. So family caregiver person has to be age 60 or older. They have to have a family member who's being a primary caregiver in order to qualify for that program. So it's a little bit more difficult to qualify for than state options. They also have to need more assistance in the home with their ADLs and IADLs than state options to qualify for state options. Okay. All right. So long-term care ombudsman, the area agency provides funding for long-term care ombudsman and also for legal services. Basically, we do that by providing some money to legal aid and also to the long-term care ombudsman program, which is based out of legal aid. So the long-term care ombudsman serves as an advocate for residents of long-term care facilities. So their responsibility is to resolve complaints against facilities and ensure that the client's rights and benefits are protected. So if someone calls us who's in a nursing home and they say, you know, I'm not getting the care that I'm supposed to get, something like that, then we'll refer them to the long-term care ombudsman to investigate that, check on that, and see if they resolve that complaint or what needs to be done. That program does also use volunteers to sometimes visit clients and things like that. So if you're interested in volunteering with that, you can call one of those numbers. And then legal services, basically, if someone calls us for legal services, we don't have an attorney on staff, so we have to refer them to legal aid if they need legal assistance, and we provide some funding to legal aid to help with that. Do you have any questions so far? All right, congregate meals. So our nutrition program, we do nutrition two ways, congregate meals and home delivered meals. So congregate meals, we have 17 meal sites in the 8-county area, and each meal at the congregate meal sites provides 1/3 of the daily nutritional requirements. So a lot of those are at senior centers, but not all of them are. So if someone calls us for meals and they say they want home delivered meals, but we screen them and they don't really qualify for home delivered meals. You know, they're still driving daily, they're getting out of the house, and maybe what they really need is some socialization and maybe a meal as well. So we can refer them to one of our congregate meal sites. That way they can get some socialization and also get at least 1/3 of their daily nutritional needs as well. Contributions are encouraged for the congregate meal site, but they're not required. So if a person's not able to make a contribution, they can still come to the congregate meal. Home delivered meals, so for people who are not able to get out of the home delivered meals program provides meals 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. Those meals can be paid for either through family caregiver program, through state options, or through the Choices program. So depending on which program person qualifies for. People can also sponsor home delivered meals. So, you know, if they don't quite qualify actually for the options program or family caregiver, but they can sponsor the meals and pay for them, then they can do that and pay for the meals. Or if they have a family member or friend who wants to sponsor them on the meals program to pay for them, then that's allowed as well. And if you ever want to volunteer with Meals on Wheels, they would be happy to have you. The meals are in our area are prepared by the Central Kitchen at First Tennessee Human Resource Agency, and then distributed out to distribution points like the senior center, something like that, and then volunteers come there, pick those up, and actually deliver them on the route to the person. Yes.
I actually volunteer for Meals on Wheels here.
Yeah, it's awesome.
I love it. I've only done it twice, but I'm starting to do it like every Friday morning.
That's great.
Yeah, I don't go to like any necessarily senior centers, but go to kind of I guess senior approaches and such.
Yep.
And they're always just so happy to see you.
Yeah. A lot of times, if you volunteer to deliver meals, you're probably the only person that person sees that day. So our agency, our staff, we volunteer once a week on a route in Johnson City, and 2 of us go out and do that route each week on Wednesdays. So it's a really great thing to volunteer with. You get a lot out of it, and the person does as well. So if you're interested in volunteering, it's a great thing to volunteer with. Okay, transportation. So we provide transportation through funding to senior centers to provide, and then they can do transportation to the center, or sometimes if they're able to make arrangements, they can maybe take the person also to the grocery store or something like that. That is limited funding. The only other really transportation in the area is through the NetTrans program. So we really have to refer most people to NetTrans for transportation. If they're within the city, the city of Johnson City or the city of Kingsport, then they have to take city transportation, because NetTrans, with their funding limitations and restrictions, requirements from the state, they're only allowed to serve rural areas. So they can, if you start out in a rural area, then they're allowed to take you to the city, but if you live in the city, then they're not allowed to serve you. It's just the way the funding setup is. And the funding requirements for that. So transportation is really a huge need in our area because it is so limited. We've applied for a grant, and we're still waiting to see what will happen with that for volunteer transportation programs. So they're in some other parts of the state, they do have volunteer transportation where they have basically a setup, and volunteers have signed up for that program. And then, if a person calls in, then they can set it up for a volunteer to take them to the doctor or those things. So there's a program like in the Knoxville area, I think one other place too, I can't think of it right now. But we've applied for a grant with that, so we'll see what happens if we get the grant or not. But that will be a statewide grant to try and get that going across the state, because it's really a huge need in our area. We get calls about it all the time. And there's really only NetTrans is the only place we can refer people to. Okay, senior center services. So senior centers, of course, are designed to enhance the quality of life of older people and support their independence. So we have lots of senior centers in our area in Northeast Tennessee, and we provide funding to the senior centers. We don't fully fund the senior centers, but we provide funding to the senior centers. And that they do lots of different programs within the senior centers. A lot of the senior centers also get local funding from local governments and grants and things like that. And if you've never been to one of the senior centers, they're a lot of fun. A lot of them are. They do trips and have sports and gym, crafts, all those kinds of things. So they're a lot of fun. And the Jonesboro Senior Center is still very new. It's very nice if you've never been in there. And the Johnson City Senior Center is part of the Memorial Park Community Center. So they also have the pool and all that their members are eligible to use. Okay. Some additional activities of the AAAD. First District Senior Olympics. So those are going on now. I think the last event was on Saturday. I think the basketball tournament's on Saturday. So Senior Olympics is nationwide, and we have a local Senior Olympics, and then if people win and qualify in that, then they can go on to the state level and compete, and there's actually a National Senior Olympics as well. So they have a lot of different sports within that. Basketball, like 3-on-3 basketball tournament, pickleball, which I don't really understand, but is apparently sort of like tennis, table tennis tournaments, shuffleboard, which I've heard gets pretty vicious. People are pretty serious about their shuffleboard apparently, and a lot of other swimming competitions and a lot of different things. So you just to participate in the Senior Olympics, you only have to be 50 or older. So if your grandparents or parents are athletic and want to compete, then have them sign up next year because it is a lot of fun. The annual conference on aging. So we hold an annual conference on aging. The last few years that's been at the Millennium Center. We have speakers who come in to speak about different issues that are affecting seniors in our area. Talk about a lot of different things. A lot of agencies attend that. Their employees, social workers, nurses attend that to get education, continuing education credits, and education about what's going on with their jobs, basically. All right, that's really, I think, about all that I had. Does anybody have any questions about any of the programs specifically or about the area agency that I can answer for you while we're here.
Are like visits limited through Medicaid? Like, are there like with a particular like senior citizen, would it be like they only get a set number of visits on their that's based on Medicaid, or is it just unlimited?
Like for choices, how many?
Yeah, like to do home visits like that, or to actually go and make appointments.
Yeah, that's a good question. So he was asking, like with choices, how many, how much does that care? Does that actually, how many visits do they get? That's based on an individual. With choices, there's kind of a set amount of money that the state assigns to that person for the year. And then they're assigned a care coordinator actually through MCOs. Managed care organizations, Blue Cross, United Healthcare, and Amerigroup, and the care coordinator works with the person and their family to determine which services are most going to help them the most. So if meals are going to help them the most, then they'll add meals. If daily visits are going to help most with someone to come in every day and be with them 4 or 5 hours a day, if that's how it's going to help most, then they can spend most of the money on that. So it's very much individual for that. Anybody else have any questions? The area agency, we do lots of interns. We have lots of interns through the College of Social Work. So if you've not set up your internship yet and are interested in that in the future, give us a call. Our interns do lots of different things with the area agency. We put them on the phones and they help us do screenings. They go out and do home visits to see the person. So the area agency, if you've not done your internship yet and you're interested in doing it in the future, give us a call. It's a good place to do an internship, I've heard. We're pretty nice. Anyway, we try to. So thank you all very much.
Thank you. Any other